The HFY expanse of the Andrus sector stretched endlessly before the sleek form of the Valthine scout ship. Silent Observer drifted through the void like a predator, its advanced stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible to conventional sensors. Commander Zexter stood at the central command platform, his three-fingered hands clasped behind his back, his silver eyes scanning the holographic displays that surrounded him. He cut an imposing figure, even by Valthine standards. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, with the characteristic deep blue skin and elongated skull that marked him as a member of the intelligence caste, the Valthine Empire had built its reputation over 6,000 cycles on one fundamental principle: knowledge was power, and they possessed more knowledge than any species in the known galaxy. Their scouts ranged across countless systems, gathering information, cataloging civilizations, and ensuring that the Valthine always held the advantage in any encounter. They never made first contact blindly. They never approached without complete understanding. This had kept them safe and superior for millennia. Today's mission was routine by Valthine standards. They had detected unusual electromagnetic signatures coming from a previously unexplored region near the Orion Spur. The patterns were consistent with spacefaring technology, but unlike anything in their extensive databases. A new species, perhaps. New data to collect. New secrets to uncover. Zexter felt the familiar thrill that came with such discoveries. Each new civilization was a puzzle to solve, a mystery to unravel before revealing themselves. Commander, his second officer, Creolin, called from her station. Her voice carried the precise, almost musical quality of the Valthine language. The source of the electromagnetic emissions has been located. Distance, 40,000 length units. The vessel appears to be stationary. Zexter moved to her console with fluid grace. The display showed a ship unlike anything he had seen in his 30 cycles of service. It was smaller than a Valthine cruiser, but larger than their scout vessels. The design was angular, almost brutal in its geometry. None of the flowing curves that characterized most spacefaring races. Instead, it looked like it had been assembled from geometric shapes fitted together with pure function in mind. Dark gray plating covered its hull, and he could see what appeared to be weapon ports along its flanks. A warship, Creelin observed, but the design is primitive compared to our standards. Look at the thermal dispersion patterns. Inefficient, and those weapon mounts are exposed rather than integrated into the hull structure. Zexter studied the readings more carefully. Primitive, perhaps, but something about the vessel made him uneasy. It sat perfectly still in the void, showing minimal power signatures. Either it was dormant, or it was very good at hiding its true capabilities. In his experience, species that built warships rarely made them poorly. Different did not necessarily mean inferior. Begin standard scanning protocol, Zexter ordered. Full spectrum analysis. I want to know everything about that vessel before we make our presence known. Power systems, weapons capabilities, crew complement, atmospheric composition, propulsion methods, everything. The silent observer was equipped with the finest scanning technology the Valthine Empire could produce. Their quantum resonance scanners could penetrate any hull, bypass any shielding system known to galactic civilization. The technology worked by sending cascading waves of quantum-entangled particles through solid matter, reading the interference patterns they created, and reconstructing perfect three-dimensional maps of whatever they touched. It was completely undetectable by conventional means. At least, it had always been undetectable before. Creolin's fingers danced across her holographic controls. Scanner array activated. Beginning deep penetration scan. Estimated time to complete, 60 units. The bridge fell into a comfortable silence as the scan progressed. Zexter watched the data begin to flow across his displays. The alien vessel, was designated as Unknown Contact 17 by their computer systems. As information accumulated, it began painting a picture of the civilization that had built this ship. Life support systems indicated an oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere, meaning carbon-based biology similar to the Valthine themselves. The power signature was unusual, based on what appeared to be controlled fusion reactions, rather than the antimatter core's most advanced species preferred. The crew complement appeared to be modest, perhaps 200 individuals. But there were anomalies. Despite the primitive appearance, certain systems showed sophistication that made Zexther pause. The ship's computer architecture was quantum-based, far more advanced than its external appearance suggested. The weapon systems, now that the scan revealed them properly, were more numerous and more powerful than the external mounts indicated. Hidden launchers, concealed energy projectors, systems built into the very structure of the hull. This was a ship designed to appear less threatening than it actually was. "Commander," Creelin's voice held a note of uncertainty. "The scan has encountered some kind of interference. Nothing that will stop our analysis, but there appears to be a secondary system attempting to interact with our scanner beam." "Identify it," Zexther commanded, leaning forward. No species had ever detected their scans before. This was impossible. "I cannot get a clear reading on its purpose. It seems to be analyzing the quantum signature of our scanner array itself." Almost as if the holographic displays exploded with red warning indicators. Every alert system on the silent observer activated simultaneously, filling the bridge with harsh tones. Zexther felt his two hearts skip in synchronization as he saw what had triggered the alarms. The alien warship, previously showing minimal power signatures, had just lit up like a star. Every system aboard the vessel had activated within a fraction of a second. Weapons, engines, shields, tactical systems, everything. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was the data stream now pouring into the silent observer's computers. Somehow, impossibly, the alien vessel had not merely detected their scan. It had traced it back to its source, penetrated their legendary stealth systems, and was now scanning them in return. In seconds, the unknown ship had learned everything about the silent observer that the Valthine had learned about them. Full defensive systems. Zexther shouted, "Cut the scanner beam. Emergency stealth protocols." "It is too late, Commander," Creelin said, her voice shaking. "They have us. They have everything. Our position, our capabilities, our technology, all of it." A communication request appeared on Zexther's display. The computer automatically translated the alien language into Valthine script. The message was brief and direct. "This is Captain Sarah Mitchell of the United Solar Confederation ship Endurance. Your scanning attempt has been detected, traced, and countered. You will respond immediately, or we will consider your actions hostile reconnaissance. You have 30 units to comply." Zexther's mind raced. How had they done this? The Valthine scanning technology was supposed to be undetectable. It was the cornerstone of their intelligence-gathering superiority. Yet these aliens had not only detected it, but had somehow used it against them. He made a decision. Pride could wait. Survival came first. "Open a channel," he said. Full diplomatic protocol. The view screen activated, and Zexther found himself looking at something he had never seen before. The alien who appeared was small by Valthine standards, perhaps 5.5 feet tall. Her skin was a light brown color, her hair dark and pulled back in a practical style. She wore a uniform of dark blue with various insignias that presumably denoted rank and position. But it was her eyes that caught Zexther's attention. They were a striking green color, and they held an expression he recognized immediately: controlled anger. "I am Commander Zexther of the Valthine Empire scout vessel Silent Observer," he said, choosing his words carefully. "We meant no offense. It is our custom to scan unknown vessels before initiating first contact. This is standard procedure for spying, Captain Mitchell interrupted, her translated words carrying a sharp edge. Let me be very clear, Commander Zexter. Your standard procedure just triggered protocols that have been in place for over 400 years. Your quantum resonance scanner operates on principles that we developed a very long time ago. When our sensors detected it, they did not just trace it back to your ship. They analyzed its entire technological foundation. Zexter felt cold dread spreading through his body. She could not mean what he thought she meant. It was not possible. Captain Mitchell continued, her voice measured but firm. Your scanner technology is based on quantum entanglement patterns that match human theoretical work from the mid-23rd century. Specifically, it matches research conducted aboard the colony ship Prometheus, which disappeared in this region of space approximately 412 years ago. The Prometheus was carrying experimental technology, including prototype scanning systems based on quantum resonance principles. The bridge of the silent observer fell absolutely silent. Every Valthene present understood the implications immediately. Their civilization's greatest technological advantage, the foundation of their empire's intelligence superiority, was based on technology from this species, not developed independently, not discovered through their own genius, found and reverse-engineered from an abandoned alien vessel. That is not all, Captain Mitchell said, and Zexter watched as she manipulated something outside the view of her screen. His own display suddenly filled with data, schematics, technical specifications, comparison analyses. His legs weakened as he recognized them. Valthene propulsion systems, 53% based on human fusion drive principles. Valthene weapons technology, incorporating human targeting algorithms. Even their stealth systems showed human quantum field manipulation theory at their core. We lost the Prometheus and her 6,000 colonists centuries ago, Captain Mitchell said quietly. We searched for decades. We assumed they were dead. It never occurred to us that another species might have found the wreckage and built an entire technological civilization on the bones of our lost ship. Zexter could not speak. His entire worldview, everything the Valthene believed about themselves, had just shattered. They were not the supreme intelligence gatherers of the galaxy. They were not the masters of technology they claimed to be. They were thieves who had stumbled upon a treasure and convinced themselves they had earned it. Commander Zexter, Captain Mitchell's voice softened slightly. I am not here to destroy you, but you need to understand something. You just scanned a human warship. You triggered protocols designed to identify stolen human technology. And now you need to face the consequences of what your ancestors did 4 centuries ago. The view screen changed, showing a tactical display. More ships were appearing on Zexter's sensors. Human ships. 3 of them, each larger than the Endurance, each radiating power signatures that made the silent observer look like a toy. They had been there all along, hidden in the gravitational shadow of a nearby dwarf planet, waiting to see what the Valthene would do. You have 1 hour, Captain Mitchell said. In that time, you will send a direct communication to your government. You will inform them that humanity has returned to this region of space. You will tell them what you have discovered about your technology's true origins. And you will arrange for a proper meeting between our civilizations. If you do this, we can talk like rational beings. If you refuse, if you attempt to flee or fight, you will learn exactly how much more advanced we are than the fragments you found on the Prometheus. The communication ended. Zexter stood frozen, staring at the blank view screen. Kree-Elaine looked at him with wide eyes, waiting for orders. Around the bridge, his crew waited in stunned silence. Everything had changed. The simple act of scanning an unknown vessel, something they had done thousands of times before, had just altered the future of the entire Valthene Empire. Finally, Zexter found his voice. Open a secure channel to the Imperial Intelligence Directorate. Priority 1. And someone get me complete records of the Prometheus discovery from our historical archives. I need to know exactly what we found and what we did with it. As his crew rushed to comply, Zexter allowed himself a moment of grim reflection. The Valthene had always believed that knowledge was power. Today they had learned that some knowledge came with a price. They had scanned a human warship and discovered the truth about themselves. Now they would have to face the consequences. The Arisi KO9G, the conference chamber, aboard the USCS Endurance, was deliberately designed to put visitors at ease. But Commander Zexter doubted anything could make him comfortable at this moment. He sat across from Captain Sarah Mitchell, with 3 of his senior officers flanking him, while an equal number of human officers flanked her. The room was a neutral space, temperature and atmosphere, carefully regulated to accommodate both species. But the tension in the air could not be regulated away. 47 units had passed since Zexter had sent his report to the Imperial Intelligence Directorate. The response had been swift and shocking. The High Council, in an unprecedented move, had granted him full authority to negotiate with the humans. They had also, in a heavily encrypted addendum, confirmed what he had feared. The Valthene had indeed discovered the wreckage of a human colony ship 403 years ago. They had reverse-engineered everything they could from it, and they had built their modern empire on that foundation. "Thank you for coming aboard, Commander," Captain Mitchell began. She spoke directly, without the flowery diplomatic language Zexter had expected. "I know this is not an easy situation for you or your people." "No," Zexter admitted. "It is perhaps the most difficult situation the Valthene Empire has faced in our recorded history. To learn that we are not who we believed ourselves to be, that our greatest achievements were not entirely our own. It is humbling." Captain Mitchell nodded. "I've read the historical data you transmitted. Your ancestors found the Prometheus in a stable orbit around a dead star. The ship had suffered catastrophic damage to its primary systems. The crew was dead, frozen in their stasis pods. Your people took what they found and studied it for generations, slowly incorporating the technology into your own designs. Is that correct?" "Yes," Zexter confirmed, "though I must point out that we did not simply copy what we found. We studied it, understood it, and improved upon it. The quantum scanner that detected your ship is far more sophisticated than the prototype we found on the Prometheus. Our engineers have refined and enhanced human concepts significantly. I am not here to diminish your accomplishments." "Commander," Captain Mitchell said, and Zexter was surprised to find he believed her, "your people obviously have great technical skill, but you built your empire on a foundation of human technology without ever acknowledging where it came from. And that is a problem." One of Zexter's officers, Senior Analyst Mirka, spoke up. "With respect, Captain Mitchell, your civilization has been absent from this region for centuries. The technology we found was abandoned, the crew deceased. By what right do you claim ownership over knowledge we discovered and developed?" Captain Mitchell's expression hardened slightly. "By the right that 6,000 of our people died in that ship. Analyst Mirka, 6,000 colonists who were fleeing a threat so severe that they loaded an experimental vessel with humanity's most advanced technology and risked an impossible journey to escape it. Those people died in the black, alone and afraid, and your civilization built its glory on their grave without even marking where they fell." The words hung in the air like an accusation. Zexter felt shame burning through him. She was right. The Valthene had treated the Prometheus like a treasure chest, never considering the beings who had died within it. "What do you want from us?" Zexter asked quietly. "Do you seek reparations? Territory? Submission?" "No," Captain Mitchell said immediately. "We want what we have always wanted, Commander. We want to understand. We want to know what happened to the Prometheus. We want to know why our people died. And we want to establish a relationship with your civilization built on honesty rather than hidden theft." She manipulated controls on the table between them, and holographic displays appeared showing star charts. The Prometheus launched from the colony world of New Terra in the year 2347. It was the largest and fastest ship humanity had ever built. It carried 6,000 colonists, families, children, scientists, engineers. They were supposed to travel to a distant system on the far side of what you call the Andros sector. But they never arrived. We searched for 70 years before declaring them lost. Why did they leave? Creolin asked. What were they fleeing? Captain Mitchell's expression grew darker. That is the question we have been trying to answer for 4 centuries. The Prometheus departed in extreme secrecy. The colony records from New Terra were partially destroyed in what officials claimed was an accidental fire. But our intelligence agencies have always suspected it was deliberate. Whatever made 6,000 people abandon a thriving colony world and risk the black in an experimental ship, it frightened them enough to burn the evidence of why they left. Zexter felt his analytical mind engaging despite the emotional turmoil. This was a mystery, and the Valthine were very good with mysteries. You believe there was a threat, something that drove them to flee. We do, Captain Mitchell confirmed. And we have been searching this region for decades, trying to find any clue about what it might have been. That is why the Endurance was here when you scanned us. We were investigating unusual readings near the same dwarf star where your ancestors found the Prometheus. Unusual readings? Mirka leaned forward. What kind of readings? Captain Mitchell hesitated, then seemed to make a decision. Do you believe in being honest with us, Commander? Because what I am about to show, you could be considered highly classified military intelligence. Zexter met her gaze. After what we have learned today, Captain, I believe honesty is the only path forward. The alternative is a foundation of lies that will eventually crumble. Good, Captain Mitchell said. She activated new displays, and Zexter felt his 2 hearts begin beating faster. The reading showed gravitational anomalies, quantum fluctuations, and energy patterns that made no sense according to known physics. 3 months ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected these signatures. They match patterns we have seen before in records from colonies that reported contact with what they called the Harvesters. The Harvesters? Zexter had never heard that term before. An enigmatic species or collective intelligence that appears in our historical records going back nearly 800 years, Captain Mitchell explained. They show up in isolated systems, scan extensively, take samples of technology and biology, and then disappear. Most species that have encountered them describe ships that seem to violate physics, weapons that operate on principles we do not understand. And everywhere they go, civilizations tend to collapse within a few generations. Creolin's voice was barely a whisper. You think the Prometheus was fleeing these Harvesters? We do, Captain Mitchell said. And we think they are coming back to this region. The patterns match. The gravitational distortions, the quantum anomalies, all of it. Something is approaching the Andros sector, and based on our analysis, it will arrive within 6 standard months. Zexter felt his world shifting again, but this time in a different direction. The shame and humiliation of discovering the truth about Valthine technology suddenly seemed less important. How dangerous are these Harvesters? We do not know for certain, Captain Mitchell admitted. Historical records suggest they are not directly violent, but every civilization that has had extended contact with them has either destroyed itself in civil war or simply collapsed into technological regression. It is as if they break something fundamental in the species they encounter. And you came here to warn us, Zexter said slowly. Even knowing what my people had done, even with every right to be angry with us, you came to warn us. Captain Mitchell smiled slightly. Commander, I am a military officer, but I am also a human being. I believe in learning from the past, not being chained by it. Yes, your people built their empire on technology, taken from our dead. That hurt to learn. But I am more interested in what we do next, and in punishing you for what your ancestors did centuries ago. We can argue about the past later. Right now, we have a potential threat that may endanger both our civilizations. Zexter made a decision that he knew would change everything. He stood, and his officers looked at him in surprise. In Valthene culture, standing during a negotiation was a sign of formal commitment. Captain Mitchell, I propose an alliance between our peoples. Not just cooperation on this immediate threat, but a full partnership. The Valthene Empire will formally acknowledge the human origins of our technology. We will share everything we have learned and developed from those foundations. In return, we ask that humanity work with us to face whatever is coming. And perhaps, in time, we can build something better than what either of us could achieve alone. Captain Mitchell stood as well, and Zexter noticed that all the humans in the room straightened with her. Commander Zexter, I accept your proposal, but I need you to understand something. This alliance will require changes to your society. Transparency, open sharing of information, an end to the intelligence-gathering superiority complex that has defined Valthene culture for millennia. I know, Zexter said, and it will not be easy. Many of my people will resist, but I believe it is necessary. Today we learned that we are not who we thought we were. Perhaps tomorrow we can learn who we might become. Over the next several units, Zexter and Captain Mitchell worked out the framework of an unprecedented agreement. The Valthene would transmit all data they had gathered over centuries of intelligence operations in the region. The humans would share their knowledge of the harvesters and their defensive preparations. Scientists from both species would collaborate on understanding the approaching threat. And most significantly, both civilizations would begin the difficult process of cultural integration. As the meeting was concluding, Zexter found himself alone with Captain Mitchell for a moment. I must ask, he said quietly, why? Why are you willing to forgive what we did? Captain Mitchell looked out the viewport at the stars beyond. Commander, humanity has a long history. We have made terrible mistakes. We have taken from others. We have caused suffering. But we have also learned that holding on to anger and resentment only creates more darkness. The people who died on the Prometheus would want their knowledge to be used to help others survive. If your civilization built something good from what they left behind, then their deaths were not meaningless. You honor them, Zexter said, and you honor us by giving us a chance to be better than we were. That is all anyone can ask for, Captain Mitchell replied. The chance to be better. 6 months later, Zexter stood on the bridge of a very different ship. The UVC Convergence was a joint venture between human and Valthene engineers, combining the best of both civilizations' technologies. It was not as large as a human carrier or as sleek as a Valthene cruiser, but it represented something more important than either. It represented hope. The gravitational anomalies had grown stronger over the past months. Whatever was coming, it was almost here. But now, instead of facing it alone, 2 civilizations stood together. The simple act of scanning a human warship had led to the exposure of a shameful secret. But that exposure had also led to understanding, alliance, and the possibility of something greater. Contact, the sensor officer called out. Multiple vessels emerging from dimensional distortion. They matched the descriptions of harvester ships. All vessels to battle stations, Zexter commanded. Next to him, Captain Mitchell, now serving as Joint Tactical Coordinator, began issuing orders to the combined fleet. 3 Valthene cruisers, 5 human destroyers, and the Convergence itself. A force that would never have existed if not for one curious scan and the honesty that followed. As the unknown ships grew closer, Zexter reflected on how much had changed. The Valthene had learned humility. The humans had demonstrated forgiveness. And together, they had built something neither could have achieved alone. Whatever came next, they would face it not as enemies or strangers, but as allies forged in the fire of uncomfortable truth. The consequences of scanning the human warship had been profound. But in the end, those consequences had led to something neither species had expected: unity, understanding, and the strength to face whatever the universe threw at them. Together, the Harvester's ships filled the view screen. Strange and incomprehensible, but Zexter was not afraid. He glanced at Captain Mitchell, who nodded back at him with quiet confidence. Whatever these new visitors wanted, they would face 2 civilizations that had learned the power of cooperation. The scan had led to a reckoning, but that reckoning had led to something far more valuable than either species could have found alone: the end asterisk.